Bismillah. Again, Jazakumullah khair for coming. We'll just explain a few things about the grave itself. In line with the statement of the Prophet ﷺ, hasten, be quick with the Janaza, that the body would have been washed and shrouded, and they will come here in a van or a car or whatever means. I mean, usually that if, like in Medina for example, there's no need for that. The Baqiyah, that the graveyard is very close to the masjid, so therefore the body is placed on something like this, kind of like what do you call this? A stretcher, yeah. A stretcher, and then it's taken immediately to the grave and buried straight away. Our facilities are very different in that the locality or the location of our graveyards are not next to our masajid, so we need cars and whatever is needed to bring the body here. So once that is done, families are here, the graves are already ready. The Prophet ﷺ said concerning the graves that they should be wide and that they should be deep, because the body is going to be placed into the ground, and it shouldn't be so that if it is shallow enough that maybe some animal could dig up, and then the body would be exposed. So therefore it needs to be deep enough and it needs to be wide enough so that the body can be placed into the ground. And as you know, that it is permissible to place more than one body in the grave if there is a need for that, and that is facilitated here in that the grave is dug about 6.5 foot, and then if there's a need that another body will be placed, it's about another 4.5 foot to be dug down, so the first body is not disturbed, so another body can be placed into the ground. And as you will see, that the graves themselves are at this angle towards the Qibla. The bodies were placed in line with what you are seeing now. Now, when the body has come, that there will be people who will go down into the grave itself to receive the body. These are males that will receive the body. Now, who has most right to that? Again, those who are most closely related to the deceased will have that right to be in the grave and receive the body. Even if it is a woman, that really men should be there to receive the body, because you don't want, for example, if women are going to go into the grave and that they're maybe not strong enough to hold it, maybe of course for this. So custom has gone that men in the grave to receive the body, and of course again direct relatives would have a priority in receiving the deceased. Usually with a female, they may place a cloth over the grave so that when the body is being placed, there's as little as you are seeing of the body when other people are there who are attending the Janaza or the burial, that you will see of the female deceased. Again, respect, dignity, and she is in her life that she wouldn't want people to see her as she is in this state as well, likewise. So the body is then placed at the head of the grave, the feet first in, and then the body is placed in the grave. And as I explained yesterday, the two different types of grave, where there is the lahad, where there goes straight down and then it goes at an angle. Because of the type of soil here, that's not conducive. It's not possible, because the grave will just simply sink on top of the body. So a shaq is used where the grave goes straight down. And ideally, if you can have that niche at the bottom where the body is placed and then something placed over that, then that can be done. However, again, that's not necessarily the easiest thing to do. So as far as I know, what is done, that there are planks of wood are placed at an angle. Planks of wood are placed once the body is placed down. The planks of wood are put at an angle. So yeah, you can see those planks of wood over there. They are placed at an angle, so that when the soil is put into the ground, it's not just simply thrown on top of the body. So there still remains kind of like a small area. If you used to take a cross section of the grave itself, you will find that the body is in an area where it is not being suppressed and squashed by soil. So this is essentially how that the body will be placed into the ground, and then after that, then the soil or whatever is used to dig the grave is put into the grave. As the people are lowering the deceased into the grave, as I mentioned earlier, that the Prophet ﷺ will say Bismillah ala sunnati Rasulillah or ala millati Rasulillah. Both are permissible, both are authentically narrated. And then after that, after the person has been buried and placed into the final abode here in this life here, then everyone can participate, if you like, in helping to bury the deceased as quick as possible. and that the Prophet ﷺ would, if who are there, who don't want to really get involved, can place 3 handfuls of soil over into the deceased, that you participate in the burial of your brother or your sister. And then once that is done, that the grave will be slightly risen as it is now, to identify that you can see the graves themselves, about a hand span roughly, that the soil is used, so that there's a slight elevation on the grave. And it's also permissible to place some form of rock or some stone which will identify the grave itself, which alhamdulillah you can see here is just a very simple plaque to identify the grave of that particular person. So things like building tombs, building high-rise kind of graves, this is something which is not from the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ and should be avoided. And history or present day is a testament to what people can go into in building tombs, mausoleums and things like that, that people may end up then worshipping that particular individual by decorating the graves and tying things to the graves, putting candles and all of these things, which is not from the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. So then after that the person has been buried and the soil has been placed over the deceased, then if you wish to stand and you want to make dua for the deceased in a manner which you see befitting by yourself, and asking Allah Azza wa Jal to forgive them, to have mercy upon them, to make things easy for them, to give them steadfastness when they are being questioning, and then you leave and you continue to make dua like this, then this is fine. From one occasion to the next, the Prophet ﷺ would give a reminder to the Sahaba about death, about the situation that they had just experienced, so as to not just becomes trivial that you come, you deliver the deceased into the grave and then you just simply walk away, but there may be some ibarat, there may be some lesson that can be given there. And so this is what the Prophet ﷺ, and it's permissible if you like to give a small reminder if you like, and then to go on your way. And that's essentially bikhtisar really the adab we should kind of adhere to when actually burying the deceased. When you come here, we are not attending any funeral here. There's no funeral. But if you want to, you take lesson from what is here. You ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give you yourself. You take lesson from you here, that you will face this one day, that Allah Azza wa Jal will make you strong, make you firm throughout your life, and that you ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, of course very importantly, that all of our brothers and sisters who have preceded us, that Allah Azza wa Jal has mercy upon them and He forgives them and gives them ease in their graves, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best.